Hey guys, it's Brandon here again for another video. Today's video is going to be a quick one, and it's going to be more focused on the finance side of my channel. So I'll go ahead and get into it. We're going to be talking about ways that I save way more money than my friends, than most people my age, and honestly, people older than me, whatever. I am pretty frugal, and it's pretty simple when it comes down to it. But if you want to know how to save money and better your finances and get to a point where you don't need to make as much money, stay tuned, because this video is going to be really helpful for you. I've got a little bit of a list here, and I'm just going to start shooting things off. So first thing on the list is I've got an older phone. It's not like a dinosaur phone, but it's an iPhone 6. So it's like a few years old by now or something. It's starting to get slow. It's kind of a pain because it doesn't have always enough space for me, like memory space. But it's like I could upgrade this, but would it actually help me out in many ways? No, it really wouldn't. You know, I could upgrade to the iPhone X. I could have afforded it at points. You know, if I want to, I can afford it. But it just doesn't make sense to me. I'd rather spend that money on something else. The status of some item like that doesn't give me value for my personality. The next thing, also kind of related to my phone, is my phone case. I'll go ahead and show it to you here. You can see it's cracked in like multiple spots. It's cracked on the bottom. Cracked up here, but the moral of the story with this thing is it's totally functional. It still protects my phone as if it were a brand new phone case. Like, it protects my phone just as well as the day that I got it. And honestly, like, this kind of stuff gives the items in your life character. And you might think that the stuff in your life doesn't really define you or have a big play into who you are, but it actually does, like probably way more than you realize. A lot of the things that you have in your life define a lot of things about your personality. Another thing, I recently, the screen broke on this. I was able to get it fixed on like a half warranty price, so it wasn't too much. And at that point, I could have gotten a new phone, but I decided, okay, I'm gonna fix the screen for 60 bucks instead of spending hundreds of dollars on a new phone. And they had to replace the home button, and they only had white home buttons. Another thing that me, like being frugal, it actually adds personality to the items that I use in my life. So I really like that aspect of things. You know, my favorite coat right now, it's starting to have like signs of wear, but it still fits me really well. And honestly, I think it's just going to end up looking better in the end, like having that personality to the object. A big one, guys, is eat at home when you can. You do not need to go to a restaurant every single day. That's going to be one of the easiest ways you can blow through money. Start eating at home, and one of the great things about eating at home is you have complete control over what you eat. It's always going to be cheaper. The same item at a restaurant, you know, a rough estimate is going to be about 3 times the cost, just because the labor and all of the other overhead costs that go into getting food on your plate really are about 2/3 of the cost of anything at a restaurant. And sometimes it can be more than that if you're at a high-end restaurant. A big thing with that too is if you're eating food at home, you can eat a lot healthier generally. Like, in the American culture that I live in, the food around here kind of sucks. Even in bigger cities, even in more, you know, modern cities, whatever, the food still sucks from a health standpoint. Most of the food is unhealthy, and it's really a horrible state of affairs right now. I really wish that there were an alternative to McDonald's that was like McDonald's, but would serve super healthy shit. Like just healthy food, white rice and like black beans and all that for like a cheap price. that would be amazing. But sadly, you know, there aren't any restaurants around where I live that have anything close to that kind of an option, especially not fast and reliable like McDonald's. Cooking at home is great for multiple reasons. It's healthier and it saves you a ton of money, way more than you probably realize. If you do eat out, eat the cheap stuff. Like, a lot of the time, the cheaper meal that you get somewhere, like if you spend a little bit more time looking at the menu when you go somewhere to eat, you might find something that fits your taste just as well as something that's twice the price. You know, you don't always have to get the filet mignon or something when you go to a place, go out to eat. You know, the chicken tenders might be just as good for your taste, like you might like them just as much. So start trying out things that are like on different levels of the price spectrum when you go out to eat, or even things like if you're shopping for clothes, like you don't always need to buy the most expensive shirt. A lot of the time, clothing especially, you're paying for a brand name, not for quality. Now, some brand names are, you know, strongly correlated with quality, and it might be worth it to buy them. But that's something to think about. And, you know, that brings me to another one of my topics, or another one of my points, is I really don't spend much money on clothing or like shoes or anything like that. I've realized that most of the clothes that I have really serve me pretty well. I don't need really anything else. You know, maybe if I got into a different career or something and I needed like really professional clothing, I might need to buy something. But for now, I mean, everything works pretty well. I mean, some of my t-shirts, I mean, most of my stuff still fits me from like high school. I mean, for me personally, like I don't have the need to buy new clothing. Why keep up with the new styles and trends that everyone has? What's the point? What value does it bring to your life? To me, it really just shows if someone's buying, you know, all the designer stuff and brand new stuff every season, you're wasting so many resources, and you're having kids work in sweatshops to produce the clothing that you're wearing every single new season. What is the point of this stuff? We're getting crazy. Especially in American culture, we're just huge consumers of things we don't even need. Even me being mindful of this, trying to save money, trying to be a little bit more minimalist, I still probably use way more resources than, you know, even people in European countries. And that's just the American way of life. So I think it'd be great if we could kind of step back from that. We use so much that we don't actually need. A big one, a big thing that you can save money on is don't have interest payments. Try not to go in debt on anything unless it's making you money. One example of what I'm talking about is if you were to get a mortgage and then have a rental property that brought in more money per month than that mortgage, that might be good debt because it's actually making you money. You might pay some interest on it, but are you at the end of the day, at the end of the month, making money on that? That's a question you have to ask yourself. That's what separates good debt from bad debt. Or you can look at student loans as potentially being good debt. If you go to the right school and you know you have a good major, or it's something that you're really passionate about, you'll actually make a lot more money over your career. And studies have shown that college is actually a really good investment. It's kind of a no-brainer. That's why so many people push college on, you know, kids and people, you know, just becoming adults. It'll usually be $500,000 difference in income at least over the course of a career, which, you know, when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, over like 20-30 years isn't huge. But it definitely makes a difference, and the debt ends up being worth it. as long as you're not paying too much interest on it. Things to really avoid: don't buy furniture on a payment plan or something. Don't go to Rent-A-Center and buy furniture. Don't go to Rent-A-Center and buy a new washing machine. Buy a used washing machine that you own outright, and that costs you less than one monthly payment of that probably other washing machine. Like, it's ridiculous. Some of the financial moves that people are making is really screwing them over. And you can't get ahead at a certain point if you make enough of these mistakes. And that's one reason why I want to get this information out there. I know there are plenty of other videos that give tips on finances, but I really just don't think there can ever be enough on that, because people still aren't listening. If you're gonna have credit cards, you need to use them intelligently. You need to pay them off every single month and make sure that you're not paying interest. Just like we were saying before with all of the other things, you want to avoid that bad consumer interest. There's absolutely no reason you should have that unless it's something very critical. I mean, if you're a mom of 5 kids and you need a car to take them the places that they need to go, it might be worth it for you to get a car loan. If you're someone like me, getting a car loan doesn't fully make sense in most situations if you can just buy a cheaper car outright. So that's another way that I save over my peers. I'm saving way more money than them. One of the biggest ways that I save money is I live in a house that, it doesn't look that great on the outside. It's actually pretty fine on the inside. I mean, there are some cosmetic things, like it's wood paneling in some places. It's not super pretty, but as a functional, clean place to live, it's great. And it's so affordable compared to the other options around where I live, because I was able to take some sacrifices in areas where it doesn't actually make a difference on your happiness. And that's what we really need to start to focus on. Is the money that I'm spending making me happy? Is it buying me useful things? Spending money on a rent payment to have a roof over your head is a great thing, and that will make you happier. Money does buy happiness to a certain extent. Studies have been done by psychologists to prove this. I think they found the limit is roughly around $80,000 a year is where money starts being less important. And it really comes down to, do you have enough money to cover your basic needs? And one thing that I think people should realize is the cheaper that you live and cover your basic needs, the happier you can be on less money. You don't need to work that overtime shift. You don't need to work that super stressful job that you don't like. You can start to have more freedom and do things that you actually want to with your time when you're living frugally, because you don't have to pay into this system of consumerism quite as much. And you can get away from it and start to live a life that actually is worth living. Another key thing when it comes to using credit cards, make sure that you have the money to pay for whatever you're buying with a credit card. Make sure you have that money up front. What I do is I make sure that I have the exact amount of money for each transaction that I put on my credit card. I keep track of it in the notes section on my phone. Like, I spent $5 here, okay, I subtract from my budgeted amount for that day, for that week. And it just makes it so that I'm never getting screwed over on those interest payments or on any late payment fees or anything like that. And then I actually end up making a lot of value from my credit cards, and I get hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of travel for free because I use credit cards intelligently. And this is kind of the difference between people who are thinking about their finances and paying attention to them versus people who aren't. And there's nothing wrong, or I mean, like, there's nothing morally wrong with being bad with money, but you really got to ask yourself, if you have all the tools in front of you to start to better your finances, why aren't you doing it? It really can change things for you, and it really can add a lot of value to your life and allow you to do what you want with your life. At the end of the day, the main thing that encompasses all of these different tips to saving money and saving more money than your peers, and just living a life that is financially free, the main thing that it comes down to is have a frugal mindset, have a saving based mindset where you think, when you go into the aisle to buy the trash bags or whatever it is that you're buying, or you're buying the milk, look at the stuff that you're buying and ask yourself, do I need the premium thing in this category? Is it actually going to do anything for me? And most of the time you'll find out that it doesn't. It doesn't contribute any real value to you. Now there are some brands out there, like brand name stuff, like that is high quality and it is worth it to buy it. But usually there isn't even that big of a price difference between those items. And just from having that frugal mindset, you'll learn over time what things you can be cheap on and what things it's worth to spend more money on. One example is, I've always heard, don't buy cheap tools because you'll use those for a long time and you want them to be durable and high quality. Whereas if you buy, a designer t-shirt, that's not giving you any extra value other than that name brand. So I hope that these tips gave you guys some value. I hope that this taught you a little bit about how to be frugal, and ultimately how to get on the track to where you can live a financially free life. And this is something I'm really passionate about. This is something I love making videos about. So if you enjoyed the content in this video, I would appreciate it if you give me a like on the video, and also comment with any questions regarding this or really anything else, and I'll shoot you back a response. And make sure to subscribe if you're interested in this video, because I'll have more content coming out just like this. But thank you for taking the time to watch the video all the way through, and I hope you all have a great day.